Hello and welcome to 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host this evening, Logan Landers, and joining me to talk about the 2021 Arizona State Sun Devils team preview is my co-host at the Unscripted Sports Podcast, and one of my best friends in this sports casting community. It's my guy, Jay McLovin. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, not too bad. Ready to talk some Herman Edwards and some Arizona State football, bro.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. But before we get started, though, if you guys enjoy this content here today, first off, thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitch, it means the world to us. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoy and you want more. Also, go check out our podcast where we just surpassed over 1,000 downloads pretty recently. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to that. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to the podcast, we are available. We upload daily content for you guys to listen at any time of the day. So, Jay, let's get into this one, man. The 2021 Arizona State Sun Devils. Well, first off, man, they're just hoping to play some games this year. They only played in 4 games last year in 2020. So COVID hit their schedule pretty hard. So what do you have to say about this team coming into this new year?
Yeah, you're right. COVID did hit them pretty hard. And, man, obviously they got COVID issues. They got recruiting issues during COVID. You know, this team had a lot stacked against it coming into the season. But I tell you, the offense, they should be pretty explosive this year. They have pretty much everybody back from last year. They were pretty explosive last year before COVID shut them down. So I do expect big things from these guys. I think they got enough depth to pretty much hang with anybody on the schedule. So I do expect big things for the Arizona State football team, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, for a team who, like I said, they only played in 4 games last year. But let's not forget, Jay, they put 70 points up in a game last year. Yeah. 70 points in a game against Arizona. So that's pretty impressive, I would say. That's a good way to end out your year. They won against Oregon State as well, so they ended the year on a 2-game win streak. So, I mean, like you said, for a team that's got hit with a few violations now, we learned pretty recently that the school is being investigated for illegal recruiting. They had guys come in during COVID, pretty much the peak of it, and they got popped for that. They weren't supposed to. Apparently, people weren't wearing masks. There's a whole lot going on we still don't know about. There's a big question mark around this program and what kind of suspension they might get, if people are going to get fined, get fired. We're still not sure. It's still pretty early in that development. But we do know that something is probably going to happen because NCAA doesn't mess around with anything like that. But just for the football team in general, though, like I said, they showed some promise in 4 games last year. Like I said, they went 2-2, finished out the year at 500. They lost against USC in their first game. They lost by 1 point, man. They lost 28-27. Then they were off for what felt like a while, just because of cancellations and stuff like that. Then they finally came back in December. Like I said, they lost against UCLA. Then they got that 2-game win streak to end out their season. So they didn't play much. They're looking to go into this year, firstly, just with a full schedule. And man, their schedule, they got a few good teams on there. I'm seeing UCLA, I see Stanford, Utah, USC, the Trojans, the Huskies. And then, of course, Arizona. So what do you think about their schedule before we dig deep into these players?
Yeah, looking at their schedule, they do have a fairly decent schedule. I think they're going to – I had UCLA, BYU, and I believe the Huskies as being the 3 games I thought that they were going to be looking at this year. I slid them down for between 9-4 or 10-3, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think UCLA is going to be a key game for them because they struggled against UCLA the last couple of years. So, I think 3 to 4 losses is probably what they're looking at for this year coming up.
Now, could you see them getting into the Pac-12 championship at the end of the season?
Yeah, I could see
that win total is looking like it.
Yeah, I definitely think they can make it to the Pac-12 championship. It's all going to be to see how they come out and shake off all that rust and all that craziness, but. I do believe that they can make it into the Pac-12. It's very, very reasonable.
Yeah, I think so because they don't have a very tough schedule. I mean, of course, like you said, they're facing some good teams like any schedule is, but it's not overwhelming, I would say. There's a lot of games they should win. There's a lot of games that are going to be kind of close, but I think they should probably pull out with, the amount of talent that they have on that program. So overall, I think that this team could be in the Pac-12 championship at the end of the season. That would not one bit. But, of course, you can't get there, Jay, without the personnel on hand. Like I said, they have Herm Edwards as their coach. We all know what he's done in his career in football. But let's get into the players. Who do you have your eyes on coming into 2021 in terms of Arizona State, whether it be on offense or on defense?
Well, obviously, the quarterback, Jaden Daniels is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, who else did I have on there? Yeah, he was the main one. According to my notes, I was looking. If you look on defense, they got Trevez Moore, that transfer out of. I didn't write it down, but he's a transfer. In terms of defense, a 4-star recruit guy. But I think the main guy that I would be looking for is Jaden Daniels. It's his third year starting quarterback. He's got some issues. He's not perfect, but I think that for this particular team, it's going to go through him. He needs to be more accurate. He needs to be careful on the move. He ran for 570 yards, 7 touchdowns. But I'll tell you, the knock on him is his 6'3", 185-pound frame can't take a lot of hits. And he got away with it last year a little bit, but one good hit on him, and he's done. So he's got a good supporting cast. He's got Frank Darby on the left, which is a good offensive tackle for him. But every other wide receiver that's caught a pass is pretty much back for him. So he's got every wide receiver that's caught passes for him is back. But he needs to be more accurate. The knock on him is he's not a good passer. He's not an accurate passer. So, but he's a great runner. So I do think Jaden Daniels is basically the best offensive weapon because, like I said, if you don't have a good quarterback, you're not going anywhere. But he does have issues that I hope during training camp he gets worked out. And if he can become a decent passer, then this team's going to go far.
Yeah, it's great to have a quarterback who can run, who can sling the ball 50 yards on a dime if you need him to. But if he's not accurate, that might hurt you at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Daniels, he does have some accuracy issues. That's something you can improve, though, which is, that's something great. So as long as he's been working hard in the offseason, if he has to, get his vision checked or just doing any kind of drills necessary to where he can just complete the ball a little bit better at a higher clip. Because I believe he was around the 60%, maybe even less for some games. So that isn't what you necessarily want as a starting quarterback in the NCAA. So I think if you can work on that, he definitely is going to be their best offensive player. You mentioned some other great names as well. They have a lot of guys who are coming back. So I think that the offense should be fine. But I have my eyes on a guy on defense who looks really good, and I think that's going to be Tyler Johnson, the defensive end. That man is a big boy, Jay, 6'4", 285. And, man, he is definitely going to be a force, I think, as long as he can stay healthy, man. As long as he's good and he can stay on the field, this guy is productive. He can get you sacks, tackles for losses. He can stop you at the line. Anything you want this guy to do, he can pretty much do it for you and then some. But he can't do it alone. He's got to have a good bit of players and personnel around him. There's also Evan Fields, who's in the safety, who's in his senior year. There's also some other guys. You got great defensive tackles, linebackers like Darren Butler, and that defensive tackle, you got DJ Davidson. So those are all guys who I've listed who are all experienced, who are at least in their junior or almost their senior year. So those are guys who know the program, who are coming back, who are trying to move up in the rankings, and who, like I said, we're trying to get to the Pac-12 championship. So do you have any final thoughts, any other players that you want to highlight before we wrap things up here today?
Yeah, no, I want to go back to I do like who you're talking about, Tyler Johnson. I mean, he had 5 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss in 4 games. 5 sacks in 4 games. I mean, that's pretty good considering how everything's shaked out for them in terms of how many games they played and how they were sporadic. But the whole defense is really not that bad. They got DJ Davidson, Jermaine Lowell. I mean, they're both NFL-sized 300-pounders who can get in the backfield and anchor the defense against the run, which is a big thing. So they got great defensive line that can stop the run. They got pretty decent secondary. They got 2 all Pac-12 talents that are in their quarterback, Chase Lucas, and safety Evan Fields, like you talked about. So all 4 starters in the backfield are back. So they get a lot of their team back. I guess that's a big takeaway. There's a lot of their defense is coming back, so it should be just fine, especially in the linebackers. They got, 6'3", 250-pound Robertson and 235-pound Darren Butler are big, they're fast, and they can fly around to the ball, which is a big thing. So, if I had to say my keys for this thing, my keys for offense is they got to play a full 4 quarters. They got to start from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. The biggest knock on this team is they tend to fade away during the ends of the games, and they don't close them out. So they're going to have to play a full 4 quarters. And the key on defense is they got to get third down stops. They got to do their defense has already allowed 45 turnovers, I believe it was. No, it converted third down. No, 45. Excuse me. Their defense has allowed 45% to convert on third down. So they have a hard time stopping them on third down. They're about almost 50% conversion rate for the offense that goes up against this defense. So they got to stop that, obviously. Otherwise, they're never going to be able to stop the run. So, yeah, those would be my biggest keys, honestly, Logan, is they just have a really hard time stopping the third down conversions.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned, too, a lot of the losses that this team's had really under Herm Edwards, they haven't really been blowouts for the most part. It's not like this team's getting beat by 20, 30 points. They're keeping it pretty close, all in all. So they are getting better. There's games that they probably should have won that they didn't. There's games that just kind of slipped under from them. Like you said, they got to stop other teams on third down. They got to limit turnovers from their offensive side of the ball. So just a few small mistakes that they've made along the way, but you can easily fix them, I think, and this team could get some more wins. Like you said, you mentioned they could get into the 10-win range. I could definitely see that. I do see them getting into the Pac-12 championship at the end of the year. And like I said, Herm Edwards, he's coming into his 4th year, I believe, here. He's got like a 17-13 records. Overall, pretty solid. And he's hoping to build on that this year. Like I said, last year was a little bit wonky. Only played in 4 games. So this year with a full schedule and against more opponents, he's hoping to get that record up. And we all know what he's done just throughout his career. So he's definitely a legendary head coach. Hopefully, like we said, the restrictions don't hit them too hard all in all at the end of the day. But I think this team is good. They got a good offensive line. They have a great rushing attack just from really anybody. Like you said, the QB, White, the running back, he's great. So you have a lot of good pieces who, like you say, if the quarterback, if Daniels, if he can fix that accuracy issues along with their dynamic running game with a good offensive line, that offense is going to be explosive. And the defense is fine, I think. The defense, like you said, just get a few more turnovers, stop them on third down more. And this team's good to go, I think. This is a really good program. And I think that all in all, Arizona State's going to have a tremendous 2021 season. And, even though they have a little bit of a dark cloud over them right now, I think that their play on the field is still going to be excellent, and they're going to get around 10 wins. I can definitely see that, Jay.
Yeah, like I said earlier, they led the Pac-12 last year in scoring defense. So their defense is on point. Their offense, like you said, Rashad White led the team in rushing and receiving yards. I mean, they have 2 or 3 other young running backs that can change the pace for him. So their running backs are good. Their wide receivers are good. They have a decent O-line. They have a great defense. It all really, like I said, it all comes back to the key to their season is how well Jaden Daniels can play that quarterback position. And if Jaden Daniels is successful, then this team will be successful. It all rides on his back and how well he performs at that QB spot.
No doubt about that. Well, give us a comment. Tell us what you guys think Arizona State will do this year. Will they get in the Pac-12 championship? Will they have a little bit of a rough year? Let us know, and we will interact with you as always. Well, for my co-host tonight, Jay McLovin, thank you so much, my man, for coming on and talking about Arizona State. I've been your host, Logan Landers. Also, guys, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, thank you guys so much for watching us. Be sure to leave a comment, comment, share it all over to all the Facebook groups. It means the world when we see y'all sharing our content over in all the many Facebook groups that we're in. And also, if you haven't already, please go and check out our podcast. Just type in 100 Yards of Football, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to your podcast, and we are there available for downloads on a daily basis. Well, hey, like I said, this is my guy, Jay McLovin. I've been your host, Logan Landers. Stay tuned because we got another great team preview coming up for you in just a little bit.